All right, welcome to the first Sourcing 7 webinar of the year. We're super excited to have Chris Aquaman Carver joining us. Before we jump into doing a full introduction of his awesomeness, I want to introduce myself. I'm Todd Davis, the board chair of the Sourcing 7, and we have Adam, who is the executive director and the brains behind everything that is S7. And so I'd like to give him a quick opportunity to share a little bit about what we do, our mission, vision, values, and tell you how you can get involved and kind of what's been going on with us. And then we're going to jump into becoming a search hero. You didn't have to wear tights for this one, but if you did, I salute you. So, Adam, I'll turn it over to you real quick and talk a little bit about the S7.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the intro, Todd. And hello, everyone who is on the call. Nice to have you all here. As Todd was saying, my name is Adam Kovac, and I'm the executive director of the Sourcing 7. And if you wonder what is the Sourcing 7, I wanted to share a quick note about it. So, our mission is to be the positive force that helps everyone just raise their game in the wider people industry, right? Like, regardless if you are a sourcer, a recruiter, a leader, or you are somebody who is providing to the people industry, I think all of us can learn from each other. And our mission is to provide free access to training and educational materials for everyone to raise their game. We are a nonprofit organization. We are based outside of the Seattle area, and we've been around for a couple of years, like close to 15 now, in various shapes and forms. But this variation of the Sourcing 7 is a nonprofit, and we are pretty much bootstrap, and we rely on donations from our sponsors and our audience. While our events are free, for this event there was an option to donate as well, and I wanted to call out and give a public thank you to everyone who donated by name. These were Greg Manson, Clara Hermes, and Yvette Herrera-Greer. Thank you very much for supporting the community and supporting our mission. If you want to get involved, we will send you a follow-up email. And talking about follow-ups, yes, this is recorded. Yes, this will be shared with everyone. Give us 24 to 48 hours, and in a follow-up email, you'll get all the details about us, how can you get involved, the recording, and any handouts that Chris will share with everyone. And of course, we will hang out in the comments, so please feel free to connect with us, connect with each other, drop your LinkedIn URL into the comments and connect with each other. And that being said, I'll hand it over to Aquaman Chris to introduce himself. But one last note that I wanted to give out there, and this is something that I learned from Clara Hermes, who is our head of learning and development and community learning at Sourcing 7. One trick that I learned from her is, please, everyone, think about Boolean and think about the question that you would want to get answered. Write down that question. And if by the end of this session that question is not answered, we'll do our best to do so. So again, thank you very much for being over here and being part of this community and coming on a journey with us. Thank you again. And at the end, we'll have an option to continue this conversation as part as an open Q&A. So thank you again. Chris, you have the stage.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here. I have chat pulled up. I'm not going to answer questions as they come in. We've got a couple spots that we will pause for questions and answer those. However, I can see the chat, so feel free to chime away and I will see it. Shout out to Steph there in Charleston. I'm also South Carolina based, so that'll be my drop in, my location. I am just outside of Columbia in South Carolina. I live in a little town called Swansea of about 800 people. It's quite small. But I'm super excited to be here. I'm happy to be here sharing how to become a search hero, find talent and leads fast. This was a really enjoyable collaboration with Adam and Clara as we talked about how do we channel Boolean in a way that is productive for recruiters finding talent and for agency recruiters finding clients. We're going to be covering a lot of different details. And thank you, Adam, for that reminder on putting on your Boolean caps. Start thinking in terms of and or not, because we're going to dive into some fun stuff here. Hopefully there's a lot of really good content for you to take away, things to think about differently, and to have fun. But first things first, let's start with our roadmap. This is going to be our agenda today. We meander through the concepts of Boolean. We're going to start with just a real quick Boolean refresher. Then we're going to move into X-ray for candidates, and we're going to finish with X-ray for leads. I do want to put a caveat in there that as we talk about X-raying for leads, it is going to translate quite nicely to X-raying to find jobs and to create your own more or less ad hoc CRM for jobs to apply for and whatnot. So that will be applicable as well. While that's not the topic of conversation, the principles will translate quite nicely. So this is going to be the fun stuff. Let's dive into it. Option number one, or slide number one, I guess, is going to be our Boolean basics. This Venn diagram is something that was shared with me and I discovered a few years back while I was learning how to conceptualize what Boolean does. And so this is our opportunity to level set, to get ourselves into the mind frame of thinking about building searches. As you have your operators, you're going to see them manifest in a couple different ways. You'll notice patterns and consistencies in the way that I write my Boolean, as we're going to see in the slides. But it's important to note that you've got and, or, and not as your primary operators, which can also be manifest as plus the vertical pipe and minus. If you don't know where the vertical pipe is, look at your keyboard. It's shift and then hit right above enter on the right hand side of your keyboard. You'll find your vertical pipe. That works for or. But this is a visual representation of what those Boolean operators do. You've got and, which indicates that all words grouped together by an and statement have to be present in your search results. Or means that they have to contain one or more of your keywords in your search results. It can include all of them. That is a possibility. You're by no means ruling that out. Not is your restrictive one in saying these things cannot appear in my search results. This is a great way in conceptualizing how to remove those immediate disqualifiers that your hiring manager might give you, particular clients that you already work with, so that you're not pulling them back up in your search results. The best way to think about this is the way it's visually represented in the Venn diagram. Inclusive or exclusive, what is your Boolean operator doing? What is the function, and how are the keywords talking to it? I love to say that Boolean is just word math. And if you saw Adam's post, the Sourcing7 commenting, a sneak preview of this particular webinar, Boolean is just word math. I excelled at math when I was in grade school. It was something that I had an affinity for, didn't want to chase it into a career. Little did I know it was going to translate into word math. So when I was in grade school, I learned the acronym PEMDAS, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. For the purposes of Boolean, the way it translates is that we've got our parentheses, which in our order of operations still has to happen first. Then your exponents are going to happen next, which translates to your quotations. These are the next things that are now getting grouped together as a single search term. And then the last is your search engine is going to read your Boolean from left to right. So this is this is how the Boolean works, how your search engine is going to be read. When we're talking about parentheses and that occurring first in the word math, everything within a set of parentheses is going to occur before the statement that it's tied to. So think X or Y being a Boolean statement. Either X or Y has to be true first, and then Z also has to be true. What quotations does is it limits stemming, which is one of my favorite tools to utilize in Boolean, but it also allows for phrase searching. So developer, the example I've got on screen, developer in quotations is only going to yield developer. However, if I remove the quotations and I leave developer open, any iteration that falls after that, my search engine is going to optimize for me. So if I was strategic and I left off the ER and just put develop, it would then pull up developer, developing, develops. This is what stemming is, and how that originates from your root word in your Boolean search strings. So be strategic in the way that you utilize or don't utilize your quotations in allowing for multiple search results to come. The second that you're looking at is create phrase searching. So if you're looking for somebody in human resources and you need those two phrases specifically together, putting human resources inside of quotations is going to allow for that phrase to return rather than the two keywords of human and resources appearing anywhere within the page. But this is your Boolean reminder of how things work, what your primary operators are, as well as kind of the order of operations with your parentheses and quotations. So this is going to be this is going to be the fundamentals that we need to understand as we start to approach a search. So we're going to begin with X-raying for candidates. I shared this on my LinkedIn a couple days ago as I was preparing and contemplating how to approach sharing meaningful content in this particular webinar. If you've ever played the video game Super Smash Brothers, that's where the choose your character comes from. And sourcing genuinely feels like selecting a character in Super Smash Brothers. You've got LinkedIn, Zoom Info, GitHub, Meetup. We had commented on my post, Reddit, TikTok. We've got social media sites such as Facebook and Instagram that you can pull people from. There's specialist sites that, such as Doximity if you're pulling healthcare professionals. There's so many different places that you can find top talent, and it is entirely important that you're evaluating where all of these people live. LinkedIn, as fabulous as it is as a platform, is not the house of information for everybody. So no matter what you're recruiting for, go and meet them where they live. You're going to have a lot more success as you reach people on a platform that you utilize regularly, or you're going to find success in accessing information to contact them by utilizing platforms that they use regularly, such as the GitHub email finding hack, which we could talk about on end, the ways to use GitHub. But we're going to focus today on two platforms. We're going to be looking at LinkedIn X-Ray, and we're going to be looking at ZoomInfo X-Ray. These are two platforms that translate very broadly and very consistently, regardless of what your use case is. So we're going to utilize that. The cool thing is that people keep saying, we've got the death of X-ray on LinkedIn. Yet we have this dialogue around it that Brian Fink shared a post on Sunday where he was talking about sourcing on different platforms and when LinkedIn goes down, where are you turning to? And in that, he mentioned he was conducting a training on LinkedIn X-Ray. I still use LinkedIn X-Ray on the regular basis, a couple times a week, easy in my sourcing efforts. Outside of that as well, I had a conversation with Steve Levy a while back talking about the API calls and structures within the LinkedIn's software and how LinkedIn X-Ray might be changing, but we can still utilize it. So we're going to build a lot of the foundation for how to use LinkedIn X-Ray as it is presently. And then as things continue to evolve, we'll be able to adjust rather than feel like we have to start entirely over. But that's where we're going to start, is with our LinkedIn X-Ray. So what we've got on screen here is an example of a Boolean string that you or a colleague might write if you're looking for a sales individual. The target here is a couple different commands. On line 1, you can see site:linkedin.com/in. That /in is going to be highly important as you start to look for profiles on LinkedIn. Every single LinkedIn profile, regardless of the unique URL you may have included, if you haven't touched it, it's likely just your name. But every LinkedIn profile follows that same format of linkedin.com/in, and then it'll follow up with whatever your unique URL is. So if you want to look for LinkedIn profiles, obviously you drop the unique aspect to it, and you include the .com/in to say, hey, search engine, Google, what I'm looking for is LinkedIn profiles. That's all I want to see. I don't want jobs. I don't want posts. I don't want recent activity coming back on in my search results. I want to look entirely at profiles. So using that site:linkedin.com/in is going to get you there. In lines 3 and 4, you're going to see a unique approach in looking for applicable titles. The way that the in title function works is it's looking at a web page title. It's not looking at a person's professional title. LinkedIn, thankfully, structures their web pages that they publish it with your name, your current position, and your current company 90% of the time. So I can search in title, and the web page title is going to match what their current title is, or at least one of their current titles if they're fulfilling multiple roles. You cannot nest an in title string. It likes to break and spit out mixed results if you approach it that way. So you have to segment it down into multiple in title strings. So what I've got in line 3 is I'm looking for sales or account, and then inside of line 4 I've got in title, representative, or executive. This is going to return profiles that they identify their job title as a sales representative, sales executive, or an account representative, or an account executive. It's an inclusive way of approaching job titles. There's other ways that you can do this. This is simply the way that I have built my muscle memory and have found high levels of success in doing so. The next piece you're going to see is line 6 and line 7. And as I write my Boolean, I break up the chunks based on the function that they are fulfilling. So that minus in title is I'm saying, hey, not in title, director or manager, right? Let's say I'm working at a SaaS startup, and in particular, I'm looking for somebody that's probably early to mid-career, maybe later career, but they're still in sales. I don't want them being a sales manager. I don't want them being a sales director. I'm gonna eliminate those particular titles, and because again, LinkedIn structures the web page to reflect your title, professional title with the web page title, I can say, hey, I don't want in the web page title to include director or manager, and I'm immediately eliminating those that are not in the sales world, at a ground level. The next thing you're going to see is line 9, and this is one of my favorite tricks with LinkedIn X-Ray, and the way that and the reason why I think LinkedIn X-Ray is so effective is I can nest in a round statement, right? Let's say that for this example in line 9, I need someone that's based in North Carolina, and ideally close to an office. Not that they would have to be in an office, but close to an office. And I have an office in Charlotte, and I've got one in the Iron Triangle. So I'm going to throw in a couple different approaches here. I can put Charlotte or Raleigh or Durham around 10 connections. The reason this works is the way that the search engine views a LinkedIn profile is in the order of operations that it follows as it's reading the page. It will always list their current location, assuming that that's public, and then it's going to list how many connections and followers they have. And between your location and your current number of connections is generally no more than 10 words. And so what I'm doing is I'm using the around function, which says, around in all caps, and then a number. I need these words to occur within this many number of words. So now Charlotte and connections is going to be connected within 10 words of each other. You can then broaden this, and you can utilize phrases such as United States. My only caveat is that if you're using LinkedIn X-Ray outside of the United States, don't waste your time here. If you're looking for people outside of the United States, use the country domain code up in the site command, and it's going to save you a lot more time. And not to mention space. The last piece is a years of experience piece that I'm applying here. Looking at a person's profile, what's publicly available, they'll list their job history, right? So I want to see that they've been in sales now for a number of years. Every position that's listed on your profile has a start date and an end date. LinkedIn likes to categorize that as month and year. So by tying a proximity search of around 5 of sales to 2016, 2017, 2018, I'm now looking at somebody that's got at least 6 years of experience, but probably more, right? If they started in sales in 2018, I know that they've got at least 6 years in sales, if that's their current title, and they've got that proximity around it. The other side is that it could be an end date. So maybe someone finished their job in 2016, and it was a sales role. They listed sales executive, January 2020, 2012 to 2016. Well, now he's more senior than maybe what my target is, but I'm being inclusive in the way that I approach it to ensure that I'm not eliminating those that would meet qualifications that don't fall within a specific 7 to 9 years. I'm allowing for some flexibility there. But this is the way that I generally will approach my X-raying of LinkedIn. All I'll do at this point is then copy my search and plug it into my search engine, which 99% of the time is Google. It's the one I'm most comfortable with, but this does translate with some nuances on other search engines. And this is what you're going to see. As you submit your search, this is what kicks back. And I've blacked out names for privacy's sake. You guys could go and copy searches and put it in. I'm confident in how capable everyone here is. But this is how it's going to manifest. You can see name, which is redacted, and then SaaS Enterprise Account Executive. Next, you're going to see redacted name, Enterprise Sales Executive. Next one, redacted SaaS Sales Executive. And then down below, redacted SaaS Sales Representative. If you can't tell, this was a SaaS sales search. What we're getting here is that the titles are account executive, sales executive, sales representative. So this is how it translates here. Couple items to note in a LinkedIn search. Again, that reminder of the web page format. LinkedIn publishes your profile as your name, your current role, and your current company most of the time. As we can see here, that's absent on the top two, but it's available down below. You can search locations with precision by nesting locations, multiple locations, in an around statement. Reliably, you're going to get the locations that you need. And the last piece is that this is scrapable. LinkedIn does not like their data to be scraped, which is why there's this conversation about LinkedIn X-ray dying in the first place. However, this is a Google search result. So what I can do is I can run my Google search results scraper, pull all of the links here, paste it into a spreadsheet, and now I've got an ad hoc CRM. So this is Recruiter Lite without the Recruiter Lite payment. It's free. But that's the way that I approach LinkedIn X-ray. So that's it with LinkedIn. I see that there's a request for a demo here, so we can jump to that. We'll jump over here before we come back. Oh, I do want to jump over here real quick. This is a freebie alert. I've got a guide on how to build an X-ray search. This will be sent out, so hang tight. You'll see it. I put this together as a way to jumpstart your X-ray thinking. But let's jump over here. So I use a software called Brackets. So this is an example of that. I use a software called Brackets to write my Boolean. The reason I do that is it helps me keep things clean. I've got numbered lines. I can see my parentheses, make sure that they have closing companions. You can see that they highlight in green. If they don't have a closing one, and I happen to be next to it, it highlights in red. So it helps me keep clean Boolean, right? This is the same one that we saw up above, but up in the previous slide. But all I'll do is I'll write my Boolean here. I'll copy it. You can Control-A copy if you don't feel like doing that part. And then all I do is I paste it in my Google search bar. I've come to Google, right? Control-Paste. It's listed out, and here are my search results. And this is how it works. It's a really straightforward approach. And now I can click into any of these links, and I can see these individuals' information. If I use a web scraper, this is where it's pulling from. You can then format the data so it's how you ingest it. But this is how a LinkedIn X-ray search looks like. Any other questions on that one? That was a good question before we move to Zoom info.
I'll just quickly translate a few questions from the comments to the live stream.
Sure.
So one quick note, you mentioned LinkedIn outside of the US works differently. Could you give an example of how would a non-US LinkedIn search URL look like?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I'm going to jump over to my Boolean so it's easier to read. So if I were looking outside of LinkedIn, every country has a different domain code. And I'm happy to send out what that a resource that I utilize for that. Actually, I'll just move it over onto the screen right here. So it's right here, Digital Guide Ionos. This is your country domains. It's a comprehensive list. So any country that you need the domain code for is going to be right here. So AC for Ascension Island, AE for United Arab Emirates. So what I'm going to do, let's say I wanted to do this, and I'm going to eliminate my location piece because I no longer need it. And let's say instead what I want to do is I want to find somebody in Canada, for example. I would put ca.linkedin.com. LinkedIn is kind enough to us to publish based in the domain. So then I'll copy it. I'll paste it, and then keep in mind if you've got city locations, still include that in your search results, but you don't have to worry about the country piece of it. So we'll come back over here. We'll paste it again. And now we're going to see every single result is coming back in Canada. So we've got British Columbia, Canada, Ontario, Canada, British Columbia, Canada, and so on. So utilizing that domain code to hone in your country, assuming that you're looking outside of the US, is a great way to save space and characters in your Google X-ray search.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the clarification. One other question regarding the search string was that is there a space between the director around 10 and all that? Like how does is there any space between like around parentheses?
Great.
Like how does that look like?
Yeah, so there's no question between your commands, right? So in title colon, there is no space between that and my open parentheses. However, when you use around, you will need a space after your number. So around 5, you put your space here and then list whatever else your proximity is. I said number. Whatever your proximity is here between term A, term B, you have to have a space after your around function. Other than that, though, everything comes real tight, close together. So site colon C right here does not pivot. Site colon open parenthesis, there's no space. It's only applicable to the around function.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the clarification. And last question, you can write these search strings in anywhere, right? Like you don't necessarily need to like write them in this way. If that's the case where you use like a line break, would that be a space in the actual search string?
Yeah. So if you were, I use a line break because it's neat and easy for me to read. However, if I were to just include spaces right here, I'm going to put this is going to look real messy for just a second. But if I were to eliminate all of my line breaks and just utilize a space, it will do the exact same thing. That a space, all that a space means is that you're moving on to the next command. So assuming that there's nothing there like this, I go not in title manager space sales around 5. That is saying and. That space is operating as an and. So I'm saying in title manager, not in title manager, and sales around 5. So you can write it this way. That's fine. There's no issues there. This is entirely just how I visually ingest information. My brain is really scattered. So if I don't have it organized really neatly, it's hard for me to keep track. And yes, Claire, I'm more than happy to paste this in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much. One last comment or question that I would have. Would you advise people to write their search strings or store their search strings in a Word format? I heard some rumors that it messes up the curly quotations versus the non-curly ones. Is that correct?
Yes, it can. I don't store mine in a Word document. I store mine in an Excel spreadsheet. I think the reason I use brackets, which is a free text editor, I'm all about free. I use it here because it keeps things really neat and organized. And then once I've run the search, I've determined that search is what I want. I'll save it in a spreadsheet, label what the search was for. And the reason I save it in a spreadsheet is because it doesn't adjust any of my formatting. Word loves to try and change your formatting, and I'm sure we're all aware of that. So you can save it there. Just know that you might have to double check it before you copy and paste it back into a search engine.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. There is a question that if you have time, will you show us how to build a search in brackets? I think let's keep that for the Q&A at the
Yep,
end, and
we'll save that for
let's
the
continue
end.
with the presentation, because I assume there will be some more questions coming in. Awesome.
Yes.
Continue, please. Thank you.
Great. So we'll jump back over to the presentation here. Again, freebie is coming. So you will get my shortcut guide on how to build an X-ray search. Look for it in the email that distributes the recording. Next is Zoom Info, and this is one that I've recently started playing with, and I've had a lot of fun. If you don't know Ashley Surratt over at Black and Veatch, make sure you give her a follow, because this is an idea that came out of collaborating with her. Utilizing Zoom Info being the information database that it is, it has so many professional email addresses, and I don't like to pay for contact information. I also don't like to pay for platforms, but I can find people here and I can see what their company domain is for their email account. So I know how I can approach just Googling, hey, how does this company structure their employee emails? Really simple. It's not super at scale. I'm sure there will be ways to do this, but pulling information off of Zoom Info is a great way to find people that don't live on LinkedIn. If you look for anyone in the healthcare industry, any civil engineering, you're looking non-technical roles, you can find people here. And it's going to be able to connect you to their professional email address. So this is, again, looking for candidates. We're going to kind of cruise through this so that we can spend some time with looking for leads. But a lot of the principles from sourcing on LinkedIn translate here. So you can see site:/zoominfo.com/p. ZoomInfo does the same thing as LinkedIn, that every unique profile has its own unique URL. However, everything is led by zoominfo.com/p. So if you include that in your search, you're saying, hey, I am only looking for profiles. ZoomInfo also structures their web page formatting the same as LinkedIn, in that the web page results are going to manifest as your name, your role, and your current company. The last thing ZoomInfo does very similarly, however it doesn't have connections, is that it lists their location. This is super helpful information in looking particularly in larger cities. Smaller cities, I've noticed a little bit of a struggle here just on my end. This is still early experimenting for me though, so there might be ways to get around it. And then it puts together an automated short summary of the person. As far as I'm aware, nobody's using Zoom Info as a platform to market themselves. It's information that is piled together. They generate a short summary of their work history and a couple different things that you're going to find here. So the example here that I'm looking at is particularly therapists or social workers. So I'm utilizing the title therapist, social worker, LCSW if they have their license, they're a licensed clinical social worker, or CSW if they're not licensed and that wasn't a requirement for my job search. And then let's say I work for a healthcare provider that we specifically utilize the DBT or CBT modality with therapy. Right? This is a non-technical example of how to utilize this. It's going to generate all of your search results that are going to meet these same criteria. This is a very specific skill set, and I was quite pleased with the way that it presented the information to me. So similar to LinkedIn, you're going to have your Google search results in a way that makes a lot of sense. Again, personal information is redacted, but you can see redacted -DBT therapist. Redacted email and phone number, program therapist. I can see that they're a program therapist. Down below, I see that they're an LCSW DBT therapist. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. The next one, redacted email and phone number, parameter. I don't know how you say that. DBT. Same thing down below. Redacted clinical social worker at U.S. Air Force, and I can see. I go click into their profile, and in their short summary, it says that they had some DBT certification, but it manifests the exact same way. So I'm going to go live here as well and showcase what that looks like. But just keep in mind that as you put together your principles in building X-ray searches for LinkedIn or Zoom Info, there is so much that translates between the two that it's really easy to build a quick muscle memory for these. Your items to note, web page format's the same as LinkedIn, name, company, or name, position, and then sometimes company. It auto generates summaries, which are searchable, and it's also scrapable. So utilize your web scrapers to pull off all of the links, format it in a way that's ingestible to you and makes sense. And now you've got a way that you can contact people, you can sort them, by where they work, what their job title is, etc. You can go through all of this. But we're going to do the same thing that we did over here. We're going to open up a new file. So it would be site, I guess here's your example of how I build a search in brackets. Site : zoominfo.com, .com/p. And then I'm going to put in title, let's look for, we'll stick healthcare. I want to look for therapist, or social worker, or LCSW. Let's say that I would prefer that they're licensed. And then I am taking my parenthesis there. And then let's throw in a city here, or a location. Let's go with Los Angeles, right? I want to find them in Los Angeles. ES, right? I think. And let's say I'm okay with nearby cities or metropolitan areas as a whole. Let's say I have an office also in Newport. And then just for security, we'll put California. Maybe I'm willing to relocate them anywhere within the state. And we're going to just start with that. Really simple. Oh, yep. Wonderful. Thank you, Newport. One word. Okay. We're going to copy this again. We'll hop out here. Jump over to my handy dandy Google and paste. As simple as that. And what's going to return is profiles of people that are clinical social workers, right? Clinical social worker, therapist. All of them are California based. And it's as simple as this. Let's say I'm looking for Jackie. Right here, I can see an about section. This is what I'm referring to in the short summary. I can see everything here about Jackie, that she went to UCLA, supervisor at UCLA Health based in LA. I can see previously this is what she was doing, received a master of social work. I can see a lot of information here. And this is all free. I don't have a paid platform. I don't have any level of subscription with ZoomInfo at all. I can utilize this. And then the really cool thing is I can see engage here, right? I can see mednet.ucla.edu. All right. Now all I have to do is hop over to my search engine and say, what are employees' email formats at UCLA Health? And it's going to spit out a format. If you use software like Rocket Reach, it'll give you, 84% of them have it formatted this way. Well, now I have it, within a reasonable level of acceptance, an email that I can reach out to Jackie and say, hey, I work at such and such, and we have an opportunity doing this and this. Would you be interested in having a conversation? So that would be the example of ZoomInfo. I'm more than happy to copy that and paste it. But keep in mind, this is all finding candidates. So now let's pivot, and we're going to be looking at leads. We'll resume the slideshow. And any questions, Adam? Before we move on, do we have any more questions about finding candidates, about the ZoomInfo platform? Anything there?
Yes. So one, copying the search, done that. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep.
One question from Clara. Is ZoomInfo mostly for US, or you found global success with it?
I have only needed to source in the United States. I have not began to play with this one outside of the United States, so I don't have an answer there. I can't answer that confidently.
Awesome. No
Let's
worries.
find
I
out.
think the best way to do that is if anyone is interested, just copy Chris's search into Google and just change the locations. Change the locations to
Yep.
your global, European, African, Asian, Latin American locations and see what comes out. Awesome. That is it for now. We'll have some other questions for the end. And thank you very much for going into leads. I think it is very, very, very important to bring this to our audience, is that while searching is a lot about sourcing, but we are also sourcing for leads for, like, for example, finding clients, finding hiring managers. A lot of us recruiters are out there on our own in the wild, doing freelance work or running our own agency. So much appreciated for helping the BD efforts of these people through teaching them how to search. And the stage is yours.
And
Awesome.
if I could jump in real quick, Aquaman, this is great. Like some of the less obvious kind of things I was taking notes from was not only just like what you do, like the techniques, but why you do it, how you do it, and your thoughts and your methodology, which I think is something that people should look at and understand that technology is always going to be changing and things are going to go up and down. So the way you approach this and showed your approach and your thinking around it, I thought was very, very useful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that compliment there. And I think differently than the next person thinks. Everyone's going to have a different approach to the way they write Boolean, and that's why I think it's so cool that we can share and collaborate, because then we always get different perspectives. I regularly have conversations around Boolean with other people, and they say, "Hey, what do you think about this approach?" And I'll see things. I think, "Wow, I've never tried writing something that way, or tying proximity search for this particular thing." There's so many different ways that you can approach it. So if you have it and it's working, you have a way of doing things and it's working for you. Feel free to share that, because we can all benefit from seeing different perspectives. Um, Next is X-raying for leads. This one is going to be a little different of an approach. You're going to have to build a workflow. The first step is if you're looking for leads for clients to engage and say, "Hey, we offer recruiting as a service or sourcing as a service. We would love to be able to partner with you and help, whether that's retained search, whether that's one-off sourcing and outreach, whatever that might look like." You're not going to have success in finding leads if companies aren't hiring. Right? A year ago, when we had all of the tech layoffs, if I were to have messaged Meta or Microsoft and said, "Hey, I know you just laid off a whole bunch of people, but I would love to partner with you in hiring," they're going to say, "No, we're not interested. We just laid off 10% of our company, and that's not going to work." So in building your workflow, that's where you're going to start, is figuring out who's hiring, what jobs are open, where are they. Next is building your searches in finding who works there that would be a quality outreach, right? I don't want to just start slapping emails to random product managers or to a sales executive or to a therapist and say, "Hey, I saw you have an open job, would love to connect and partner with you." You need to be strategic about who you're connecting with. Are they in recruiting or talent acquisition? Are they at a director or decision making level? Keep in mind sort of those things, and then cross-reference and reach out, and we'll show what that looks like. But X-raying for leads, I chose two particular approaches to go with this. The first was using Lever, and the second was using Monster. These ones, I picked them because they are web scrapable. So this is how I utilized it, and we've got two different X-ray strings here to look at. The first one is jobs.lever.co. If I just left it at lever.co and then put in my particular skill set or industry that I specialize in, I'm going to get search results within Lever. I'm going to get mixed results. I'm going to get articles. But if I put jobs.lever.co, all it's going to return is jobs. So I can see which ones are actively open at this moment, so I know who I can reach out to and prioritize. The next one is using the in-title feature. So this one will translate for those of you in talent acquisition that are looking for a job. Site:/jobs.lever.co, and then put in-title: open parenthesis, talent acquisition or recruiter. I'm now looking at jobs that the title of the job, because that's how Lever publishes their jobs, is that it's the webpage title is the job role, is going to include talent acquisition or recruiter. And then in line 5 and 6, you can see I put remote, United States. You know, if I'm a US-based recruiter, I'm looking for a job, or I'm looking for a US-based employer and I'm looking for a job, but I can't be there right now, I'm looking for something remote, this is how I would start that search. This example is obviously isn't going to translate to building a lead immediately. However, just change your in title piece, right? I'm looking for, let's say I'm looking for sales, or I'm looking for, maybe I specialize in mechanical engineering. That's my recruiting forte. And so I want to find jobs where there are mechanical engineers that are needing to be hired, and I can reach out there. All you have to do is substitute the title. But I wanted to share this one in particular because I know there's a lot of TA folks out there looking for work. Over on the second, on the right-hand side box, you can see site:/job-openings. This is going to be your format for looking only at jobs as a result on Monster. You're not looking for company reviews. You're not looking for articles or whatever publications that they've got as well. I'm looking only for jobs. Same concept here, in title: sales. This one has sales in parentheses. I tend to keep all of my title pieces in parentheses for cleanliness. You could drop the parentheses here and just have in title: SALES, and it would work the same. It's simply a formatting for the way that my brain ingests information, right? And then let's say I'm looking for a sales role, looking for sales roles that are open in California. Maybe that's where I'm based out of. That's what I specialize in. I've got leads there, or candidates there that are looking for work. And then I want to look for somebody that sells software, right? Software as a service is what they do. So I can take either of these searches and plug them into my search engine the same way that I was looking for candidates. And instead of candidates or profiles coming back, what's coming back is all these jobs. At that point, use whatever scraper you prefer. I prefer Google search results scraper, but there's instant data scraper, there's data miner. There's so many of them out there that are free that you can utilize. Run your scraper, pull them all, put them into a spreadsheet, and now I've got the link to the job. It's going to break down information for me so that I can utilize it in a meaningful way. And now I can start to build my priority list for which companies are hiring, what they're hiring for, and now I know who I should target. So this is what these look like, right? I'm going to back up. This is for finding jobs. Your next step, once you've done this, you've pulled your list similar to how you did a candidate. What's going next is now you are building out a search string to find the managers or the recruiting professionals that are going to be your meaningful outreaches. And this is where ZoomInfo and LinkedIn, and why I prioritize this, comes into so much use. ZoomInfo.com/P or LinkedIn.com/in. This is what you're going to do, right? You put in your site, you put in your title string. I'm looking for a recruiter or someone in talent acquisition. Let's say I noticed that there were a lot of jobs with Microsoft or Amazon or Tesla or Apple. This is just an example. Put in whatever company it is that you were seeing a trend or that would be a meaningful outreach for you, and then put in the location, right? If a company is global, like Microsoft, and I'm a US-based recruiter and I do US-based recruiting, put in United States. But if I'm looking for contacts outside of the United States, throw in whatever locations is going to make sense for you. Right, but this you put in this search result and or these searches separated by line 8. That was just to break it up so that we could keep it on one slide. What this is going to do is return LinkedIn or ZoomInfo profiles of people that would be relevant for you to reach out to. Just like a candidate search, you're going to put it into your search engine, scrape the page, or go in and message them on the platform if it's LinkedIn, whatever that looks like, and shoot your shot. Say, hey, I do recruiting for this. The company that I work for is looking for new clients, and I think we could have a meaningful partnership, right? But this is how you approach that. Once you know where the jobs are, who's hiring, now build a search to find out who are the people that make sense to reach out to. And once you've done that, reach out and connect. But that's really it for leads. It was real brief, real straightforward. We saw a lot of the principles ahead of time. I wanted to leave time for questions. Do we have any questions about leads or about the presentation in general?
Could you copy paste in the search for leads as well into the chat?
For the
Thank you.
leads, I don't have that. I can type it out. I don't have that one
No
readily
worries.
available.
For everyone in the audience, we'll put it into the email as an additional attachment. All the searches, so you will have those.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that for sure.
Awesome. So just scrolling through the questions over here. One was earlier from Pablo.
Okay.
Question was, have you noticed a difference in results and accuracy between X-Ray and LinkedIn Recruiter, like X-raying LinkedIn or going directly in the search in LinkedIn Recruiter?
So I'm going to be kind here because this is a polite and uplifting platform. I do not enjoy LinkedIn Recruiter. That is not a platform that I enjoy. I know I'm not the only one with that sentiment. I navigate LinkedIn far more efficiently using X-Ray than I do LinkedIn Recruiter. I can be precise. LinkedIn's recruiter platform is trying to introduce too many AI features that are handholdy, that doesn't allow me the flexibility to search for things in a way that makes sense. It's a good platform to learn searching on. I don't think it's the most effective platform for finding people in the way that it navigates that.
Awesome.
So reliability wise, I use X-Ray before I use LinkedIn Recruiter.
Good call. I think a lot of us are like that, especially when they see and feel the search limitations that LinkedIn might impose.
Yeah.
Let's phrase it that way. LinkedIn is good. Like, I'm not saying it is a bad tool or anything like that, but it does have its own limitations depending on the use case. Quick question to the group. Early on, I asked, write up your questions around Boolean and let's make sure that those are answered. So looking at the audience, were all your initial Boolean related questions answered? And if not, please, pop them in the chat and we'll make sure to talk about it. One additional question until the extra questions come in was related to scraping. You mentioned scraping a lot. What is your favorite tool? What is your go-to tool for scraping?
Sure. So I prefer using Google Search Results Scraper, and I can show you. Let's see. Oh, I'm in my presentation. I was like, where did my webpage go? It's right here. Okay. So when I run a search, this is what it looks like. I use Google Search Results Scraper, which is identified up here in the top right of my corner, or top right corner of my browser. Actually, I don't know if zoom in is going to work for that because it's
Could
not
you
on the page.
just right-click the extension and go to
Yep.
the extension page of Chrome, and we can pop it in the chat so everyone can.
Yep. So this is the one that I like to use.
Awesome. Thank you.
I used to use Instant Data Scraper a lot, and I still utilize it in some instances, but not for Google search results. And the reason for that is when Google stopped publishing pages for their results and they went to the infinite scroll, Instant Data Scraper for me has had a really hard time keeping up with that, and I ended up running into issues with it. So I utilize Google Search Results Scraper because it handles the infinite scroll and will just keep going and picking up results. So that's my web scraper of choice.
Awesome.
It's free. I don't like to pay for anything, so it's free.
Awesome. Question from Alice: can you tweak the strings to X-ray Indeed?
Can I tweak the strings to X-ray in Lead? What do we mean by that?
Indeed. Sorry, Indeed.
Oh, Indeed. So I was playing with that when I was trying to work on this. For full transparency, X-raying for leads is not where I spend most of my time. So this was translating principles that I utilize in finding leads and how to navigate going about that. When I was trying to X-ray for jobs in Indeed, I was getting way too many results that it said search Indeed jobs for X, Y, and Z. Once I clicked on those, and it would pull up search results for me. It was in there. I would try to use Instant Data Scraper or Data Miner to pull those off, which are different web scrapers, and I was still running into issues. So I was not having success there. If that is your approach, I would suggest having your target set of companies that you want to try and reach out to. Search for those companies and all their open roles on Indeed, if that's your methodology, and see if they're hiring. And then at that point, you can run your X-ray search for who their recruiters, TA, decision makers are, directors that would have influence, and reach out there. But as for building a search like we did for Lever or Monster, it's not successful with Indeed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There is a conversation going on in the chat between Carmel and Glenn. And Glenn, thank you very much for sharing all the tips and answers in the comments. Maybe we should have you in the next session present this to everyone. But one of the questions was that how do I, and this is coming from Carmel, how do I make sure only US results come back? I usually put in USA, but I get results from Dublin and Israel. And there was a good follow-up to this saying that if you put in www.linkedin.com/IN should not return results outside of the US. My additional question to that is, what other methods do you have to restrict, if anything, to restrict results coming from US-based domains only?
Sure. So we'll jump back over to here, and I'm going to separate this out so that we can see what that would look like. The way that I would approach this, if I had a location-specific US location, right? I can hire anywhere remotely in the United States. The www does work. That is going to serve your functionality, but I'm going to utilize this around statement and change that. What I would do is write United States. Right, I've got my United States, and then I'm going to put my location just like I did in my other searches, and write connections. And make sure my number is 10, just to be sure that I'm capturing the right frame. But this would be a way that if I was looking remotely in the United States, in addition to the www.linkedin.com/in, I could also put United States around 10 connections. It's really going to be what your preference is. The key there is that if you're using www.linkedin.com, that doesn't take any of your word count away, because Google limits your search queries to 32 words. So utilizing United States, around, and connections is taking 4 of those words. So if you're tight on those, you have a lot of additional restrictions. Putting in the www.linkedin.com works just as fine.
Awesome. Thank you very much. One quick note, Glenn called it out in the comments that the Google search results scraper was created by the coworker of another amazing sourcer, Irina Shamaeva. So let's just give credit over there. I
Absolutely.
think it's really, really great to see other community members create amazing tools like this for us to use and access for free. So thank you very much for Irina and Co for that. If she's listening or seeing this in the future somehow. My question regarding like locations, have you seen any success with targeting locations with zip codes and using the range search for zip codes and when X-raying?
So that is one piece I have to give to LinkedIn Recruiter. X-ray does not do zip codes unless they've published it publicly on their profile. That is not the standard for the location format. It's city, state, country. It does not include the zip code. So unless they've published their public address somewhere on their LinkedIn profile, that's not going to work in a way that you want it to. So on the flip side, that is one area that LinkedIn Recruiter does a very good job of being able to utilize searches by zip code and then expanding your radius from there. So there's definitely something to be said about the way that they utilize the platform. But I cannot figure out how to use zip codes because it's just not formatted that way.
Awesome. Thank you. I think those were all the questions from the comments. Todd, anything to add from your side?
So I'm following back up on this, what I was talking about before in terms of the methodology and the approach and like knowing where to search and then what to use in terms of your search is the value that I took away and I think is the best lesson that we can pass along, or one of the best lessons we can pass along to those that are wanting to learn, is knowing when to use these and where to use these, and then lastly, how to use these. It's just my opinion, but I think this is an amazing refresher for me, someone who's been doing it for 20 plus years, and really appreciate how you approached it and how you organized it. And I think it was of immense value to the whole audience. So thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we came to the end. So again, thank you very much to you, Christopher, or Chris, sorry, for coming and sharing your knowledge and opening up your brain and letting us look into it and learn from you. Thank you very much to everyone in the audience who joined us today live. Thank you for being over here. As we said earlier during this webinar, is that this was recorded. This will get uploaded to YouTube and will be accessible to everyone. We will send a follow-up email in the next couple of days with the recording URL, with the presentation slides, and also with all the searches that we ran and the freebie promised by Aquaman that helps you create your LinkedIn X-ray searches. In that email, we will have also a survey. We would love to hear from you. How did you like this event? And also, we would pretty much want to hear what other things do you want to see from us in the future. We are here to build for you and support the community. So while we have some, we think, great ideas of what would be the best way of doing that, we want to build for you. So to do that the best, we want to hear from you. So that being said, thank you very much for everyone, and see you all in the next one. Goodbye.